Well, let me tell you something, brother. Snort, 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 Kogan. Drip, snort, snort. I got the drip.
At this point now, I've played Zelda Tears of the Kingdom 7 hours. I really like the game, but already, 7 hours in, I'm starting to see some shortcomings of the game. That definitely, I think, are going to be things that maybe are going to hold back this playthrough, alright? And I know some people already, oh, he's being nitpicky. Well, listen, it's kind of my job to be nitpicky, is it not? I'm someone who plays games and objectively reviews them from a standpoint of kind of almost an outsider, right? I'm not someone in the industry who depends on kissing butt or on slamming games either. I can be honest about what I feel about a game. And so far with Zelda, it's mostly positive. But I can tell you right now, from playing 7 hours in, I'm already starting to see some issues. So issue number one, alright, this game, if you're not aware, has 3 different worlds. Yes, there is a sky world of a bunch of floating islands, and I guess you could compare that either to like Skyward Sword or to like Wind Waker, where it feels like you're kind of in a sea and there's all this stuff you can travel between and explore. Then you've got your standard overworld, which is the planet level, which is kind of like Breath of the Wild. In fact, it is Breath of the Wild, right? It literally, I think, is the same map, just re-explored and redesigned. But now, we found out last night, there's a third world under the surface of the planet called the Depths. Some people are comparing this to, say, the Dark World of other Zelda games. And people have told me, oh yeah, by the way, that map is exactly the same size as the standard overworld map. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, now Breath of the Wild, which I played 6 years ago, alright? I really enjoyed it, don't get me wrong. But I particularly remember, by the time that we were getting near the last third of the game, that it definitely felt like the game was dragging on, that it was taking too long, and that you were just wrap it up, right? Just wrap it up. There's so much to do, I wish we could just get to the end of this game. It really felt like it was taking too long. If you take a look at my Breath of the Wild playthrough, 194 parts, and this was a time frame when my parts were between 20 and 30 minutes long. So you're talking, the playthrough was between 80 to 100 hours long, okay? I remember, when I started playing Breath of the Wild, everyone liked it on stream, and by the time we got to about halfway through the game, everyone was actually getting frustrated, saying, man, this game is too long. And I think it is a major thing that we need to start talking about in the modern era, game length. Okay? At what point is a game too short, too long, or hitting that perfect happy medium spot in the middle? Because I do feel like game developers these days don't really consider this. Or, for example, some game developers just want games to be so long, but is everything you're doing in the game meaningful? Right? I would much rather play a 20 to 25 hour, streamlined, linear, awesome experience than an 80-hour open world bloated experience where like 50 hours of gameplay are pretty unnecessary and bent on backtracking and open world exploring. Not to say that those games don't have a place, but that's kind of my personal preference. Like, I think I would prefer a game that just has like, oh my god, every moment I'm playing it, it's great story, great graphics, really cool exploration, really awesome, hitting it on every octane, high cylinder enjoyment, rather than, alright, so this is a downtime where we're going to be running through the open world for 4 hours and we might find 3 useful things today. You know what I mean? When I take a look at a game like Tears of the Kingdom, and you say, well, Nintendo's charging $70 for it, okay? You immediately say, well, why do they think that they can justify $10 more? Well, based on what I'm seeing now, 7 hours in, I think I know where their justification's coming from. They're basically saying, it's Breath of the Wild, plus up here, plus down here. We've essentially almost doubled the number, the content from the first game. But it begs the question, do modern gamers want an experience that's 100 plus hours long? Is it going to hold interest, and is it going to actually be interesting that entire time, or are you going to get bored, right? It'll be interesting, because the thing is, with a game like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, there's no achievements. There's no trophies. So there's no real way to gauge how many people who buy the game will actually finish it. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at a lot of statistics for video games, modern video games, it's interesting because if you look at games that, for example, are on Game Pass, A tremendous amount of people play them because they're under Game Pass and you don't have to pay any more money for them. But how many people actually finish them? Right? Now, with a game like Tears of the Kingdom, we've been waiting 6 years for a new Zelda game. The hype is real. Ridiculous amounts of people ran out and bought it. And let's face it, you also have the Nintendo fanboy force that literally buys every piece of Nintendo possible. Probably some of them bought like 12 copies of the game. I hate to say it, but it's just true. They're like, oh, I want the collector's edition, I want the standard edition, but I also got the digital edition. Oh, I have a Switch. My brother has an OLED Switch. My mom has a Switch, and everyone needs it. You know? So I guarantee you this game sold like crazy, right? But I guess the question again is, out of all those copies being bought, if the game is going to be over 100 hours long with this insane amount of content they've added into it, how many people will actually play it to completion? Or how many people will pick it up, play it for 20 hours, be like, alright, it's an open world Zelda, I get it, and then never play it again, right? Now, here's the thing. I approach things from a different perspective. I approach it from the perspective of a content creator, alright? Not only am I playing a game for myself, I'm playing it for you. I'm not just sitting here in 100 hours of my personal time. This is me actually putting out a lengthy playthrough for you and trying to entertain an audience of hundreds and then on demand an audience of thousands, right? And it can be tricky because I feel like with a game like the Tears of the Kingdom, if we approach this from an interactive content creator's perspective, if we play this game and it's the game that we talk, we chill, we have fun conversation, while entire 2 to 3 hour streams, all I'm doing is exploring the open world, doing some temples, opening up some map, portions, maybe do a dungeon here or there, whatever it may be, as long as we are interacting, right? I think it can work. But even then, if you take a look at a game like, for example, Oblivion, that's exactly the take that we've had with Oblivion, and I've been playing Oblivion since December. Currently, as of today, when we resume Oblivion on the late stream, I'm around 72 hours into Oblivion. And I can tell you right now, it feels like it's time to end the playthrough. It feels like it's exhausting at this point. Like, dude, we've been playing Oblivion for a really long time, and I feel like it's time to move on from it. And we're 72 hours in. But did you hear what I just said? 72 hours. Breath of the Wild was 80 plus hours. Tears of the Kingdom, reportedly, is over 100 hours. You understand? So, again, I have to say this, length of game maybe has to start to be really explored by these game developers. Right? It's not all about possibly making the longest possible game with the most amount of content. It's about meaningful content. And how much content in this game will be meaningful. I have to ask the question. I haven't gotten far enough into the game to make a judgment yet. But the question is now resonating in my mind. Especially when, keep in mind, this is not the only game that I'm currently playing. I'm playing Star Wars, which we're about to play today. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm still doing my second run of Elden Ring, which has been superb, and I cannot wait to play more of that. We've got chill late-night streams of Final Fantasy V and Oblivion. And coming up in June, we've got really big, high-profile games that I'm excited to play. So how am I supposed to be playing a 100 to 120-hour-long game, right? Even, let's be honest here, a normal person who doesn't do what I do for a living, who has a job, a family, you're in school, you have responsibilities, you can't just sit around playing games all day. Realistically, how many hours a day does a normal person have to play games? A couple hours, maybe? You expect me to play this game for 3 months? And I'm still gonna have interest in it? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. At this point, I'm starting to actually strongly question game developers' logic when it comes to the way that they're developing games. Like, I don't need a ginormous open game with a bunch of padding. I just want a game that's streamlined and good. And you know what? I hate to say it, that's what Zelda games used to be. If you take a look at Zelda games, right? Yes, they always had some optional hidden content, but for the most part, they actually were some pretty nice experiences where everything was kind of curated and created just for an awesome hands-on experience. Every time you were in a dungeon, there's stuff just for that dungeon or whatever. Now that they've made these games giant and bloated, is it really going to have that same feeling? And is it going to, or is it going to be, 120 hours, but out of the 120 hours, only like 30 hours was fun, but you spent 5 months playing the game, right? Now, I do have another thing to ask, all right? Because Already I'm 7 hours in and I've now completed 8 dungeons. I take that back, temples. They're not called dungeons, they're called temples. It's the same premise as the temples in Breath of the Wild. There are mini challenge areas where you're going to use your game's like puzzle solving abilities, the new ones. You know, the combining, the rewind ability, the rise ability where you float and go through things. You're going to use these to solve puzzles, alright? And you get rewards. Now, if you just beat the shrine, you get an upgrade item. And for every 4, I believe you either get a new heart or you get more stamina. So that's good. But there's optional items in the game, or in the dungeons. Okay? And here's where I'm starting to actually get legit upset, and I'm only 7 hours in. So every optional dungeon, or every temple that I've done, I've tried to do the optional objective. And the optional objective, arguably, is much harder than the standard objective. You have to figure out, like, an extra way to do the puzzle solving, the traversal, whatever it is, to get this extra chest. Okay? I've opened up 8 of these. Literally, every single one is a complete waste of your time. There has not been a single optional chest I've opened that had anything of use. Last night, the last thing I did on my Zelda stream was an optional temple. We figured out how to complete it, and then there was the optional chest. So, okay, let's figure this out. So we figured it out. It took a while. It was tough. It was actually quite challenging because you had to make a thing that was in the way have to be suspended in the air, and then you had to hit a ball with a timing and had to hit a target. So we figure all this out. It took like 15 minutes to figure out the second half. We go and we open the chest. It's an elixir. It's a stamina elixir. The same stamina elixir you can easily make yourself at any cooking area in the entire game by just tossing a couple common components together. Why did I have to solve an optional puzzle that was difficult to get a standard item that you can get in the game in 2 seconds? It doesn't make any sense. So I was actually talking to my wife about this last night, and we came to the determination what it sounds like happened was, much as what happens in these games, you have different groups working on the game, correct? So you had one group who was tasked with designing the puzzles in the temples, right? So all their task was make a challenging puzzle. So they did that, right? They say, here's a puzzle. The standard one is here. The extra one is here. It's an increase in difficulty, you know, estimated 20 minutes to complete or whatever, right? But then you had another team, and that team is working on item placement. Oh, whereabouts in the game should certain items be for plot advancement? You don't want to put an item too early in the game because it would be overpowered. This particular temple is early on in the game. So the item placement team, not looking at the difficulty level of the temple, just arbitrarily places an item in the temple, not even realizing you had to solve a pretty difficult puzzle to get that reward, so you worked your ass off to solve it to get a piece of junk, right? That is a disconnect in game development. It should have been the teams are working together and saying, wow, the actual difficulty level of the challenge equates in a better reward. If I'm going to work my ass off to solve this tough puzzle, give me something good. Give me a unique weapon. Give me a component I can combine for a unique item I've never had before. Don't give me something I already have in my inventory, right? It's just stupid. And it pissed me off last night. It really did. I was like, why am I wasting my time? And to the point where I actually said to the cat last night, I might not even waste time anymore. Since this game already is going to be so long, maybe what I'll do is I'll go into a temple, I'll just go right for the exit, get my you know, upgrade for either health or stamina, and get the hell out of there. Like, is it even worth it to waste time on these optional objectives if 8 in a row have been crap? 8 in a row have been crap. It wasn't like, oh, one of them was bad and one of them was good. It was, you know, 8 in a row are terrible. So maybe I should just do that. Streamline my own playthrough, right? Find all the temples, but only get the necessary upgrades that are good, and don't bother with the other crap. But anyway, these are early observations I'm having. Keep in mind, I'm only 7 hours into Tears of the Kingdom, out of a game that's supposedly over 100 hours long. So, perhaps as we continue on, right, we'll see, you know, how it pans out, if it gets any better, if it gets any worse. I would hope it gets better, but it is pretty good. You know, as an initial offering, I am liking the game. I'm enjoying it. But I am worried. And the reason I'm worried is this game, especially with its open world atmosphere, does seem like it's going to tend to be what we would consider a chill stream game. Meaning, yes, there will absolutely be streams set in temples that are going to be serious story progression, but at the same time, there's going to be entire streams where all we're doing is exploring this ginormous open world, and that's going to lend a lot more to conversation and a lot more to interaction to keep us busy and keep us occupied while I'm just running around exploring. And that really seems more like a late night chill stream, correct? Right? So the question is, do I treat Zelda like a late night chill stream? For now, I want to keep it in the daytime rotation. We're definitely playing it on Monday as the main stream. But then, after that, like for example, we're coming near the end of Oblivion. It looks like we may beat the Shivering Isles DLC tonight, and then probably a couple more streams of just story progression, and we're probably going to beat the whole game. I mean, it's been an awesome playthrough, but at this point, we've done all the meaningful content in it, correct? So, what do we do once we beat Oblivion? Maybe then, Zelda becomes a late night chill stream, right? And that could be a way where Zelda could be night streams, Star Wars and Elden Ring are daytime streams. That allows me to make a massive progression in Star Wars and Elden Ring by the end of the month, maybe even beat one of them, right? And then, Zelda just continues on as a chill stream for a very long time, because if it's 100 hours, this could take months to beat. You see, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm not committing to that. I'm just saying that's my initial thoughts with how the game is panning out already, okay?
Go. I got the drip, 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 go.
It's like a faucet that's dripping. You can't make it stop. So what do you want me to do? Have a mute button that every second I'm tapping the mute button just in case I'm gonna have to clear? Like, this is what I mean, these dumb kids. This is what it is, it's dumb kids.